If your biggest hesitation about getting the RØDECaster Video has been the price, this might be exactly what you were waiting for. This is the new RØDECaster Video S, a new version of the RØDECaster Video that is smaller and cheaper. Rode was kind enough to send one out to me ahead of the launch, but it only arrived literally a few hours ago, so I've just barely taken it out of the box and turned it on. So let's take a closer look. Hi, I'm Aaron Parecki. The RØDECaster Video S is basically a smaller version of the RØDECaster Video. Other than the physical differences of buttons and ports on the back, everything works the same software-wise. So let's take a look at the difference in the ports and the buttons, because that's really the crux of the difference here. So while the RØDECaster Video has 4 HDMI inputs, the Video S has only 3. You might notice there's 2 HDMI outs on the RØDECaster Video and only 1 on the Video S. The other change is instead of 2 inputs for a mic and webcam, there's only 1, but it still does have 2 computer connections as well as a USB port for a hard drive. The Video S still has Ethernet, USB-C power, and the 2 XLR combo jacks. One other thing that was removed from the Video S is the speaker outputs. So we still have 2 headphone jacks, but there's no speaker output for the room. There's also no micro SD card slot in the Video S, but that's because it actually has 20 gigs of internal storage for media. We'll come back to that when we take a look at the software though. Taking a look at the top of the device, you can see everything is very familiar. There's just 5 buttons here instead of 7, but all of these other buttons are the same. We still have the 2 knobs. We still have the preview, the auto cut, and the function buttons here. The screen is also the same size as well. There's a record button, and for some reason we lost the little light indicators for recording and streaming. There's also no external antennas on this, so the antennas are just built in. So that's the physical differences. But what does this actually mean in terms of what it can do? More important than the physical inputs, I think, is actually that this has been reduced to 4 video channels. What this means is that unlike the larger RØDECaster Video with 6, there's actually only 4 slots here for active video channels. These can be mapped to any combination of the HDMI ports, the USB input for a webcam, or network sources. So for example, if I go tap here, I can see that this input 4 has been mapped to the USB webcam, but I can also change it to any of the 3 HDMIs or any of the 4 network sources available, which are NDI. So this actually means that you can have 2 HDMI cameras, a USB camera, and an NDI camera, or all 4 NDI cameras, or 3 NDI cameras and USB camera. And that's how the input channel mapping works with this. So again, even though there's 1 less HDMI port, it's not that big of a deal because the larger limit is actually that you only have 4 video channels to map to instead of 6 in the RØDECaster Video. Similarly, while the RØDECaster Video goes A through G on this top row, the RØDECaster Video S only goes up to E, which means these are used for scenes as well as loading in media and configuring your overlays. So you are limited to the number of scenes and media slots available to 5 instead of 7 in the larger one. But other than the physical differences of number of channels and ports, the functionality-wise, this is the same as a RØDECaster Video. So just like with the RØDECaster Video, you can create a scene with side-by-side layouts or pictures in pictures. You can connect USB webcams like this little camera over here. This is actually my iPhone using the Rode Capture app. And you get a ton of options for audio processing as well. It's a little bit easier to see those over in the computer, so let's take a look at the software for the RØDECaster Video as well. This is the RØDECaster app where you get your scene builder, audio mixer, configuration, auto switching, and streaming settings. So if I go into the audio mixer, for example, you can see here's all the audio channels that I've set up. I can bring in audio through HDMI or the USB computer, or even pair it with a wireless microphone like this Rode Interview Pro or the little Rode Wireless Go microphones. Just like the larger RØDECaster Video, this has all of the audio processing features you would want as well. So you can turn this on, you can go into advanced settings and set all the same audio processing that you would on the RØDECaster Video. I mentioned there's no speaker outputs, so in the output settings for the audio, we only have the headphone mix and the 1 HDMI port. We did lose the audio output, the speaker jacks on the device, but you can still go into all of these and create separate mixes for each of your audio outputs. That means if you want to record a different mix than you are streaming, or if you want to monitor a different mix than what you're recording, you have all those options available still. The scene builder in the app is where it's a lot easier to create these layouts compared to using the physical controls. You do have the ability to create these multi-source side-by-side or picture-in-picture on the physical device itself. I find it to be a lot faster to do that all in the software though. So for example, here is a split screen, a split layout, but we can actually go and change this into a custom layout where we can then click on this, maybe make this one bigger, We can maybe take my camera and scoot it over and crop it. And you get all this flexibility that's a lot easier to manage in the computer app compared to on the little tiny screen. You might notice that as I'm dragging this around, these are all snapping to the center points or snapping to align with each other. And I'm really glad they did that. That was based on a feature request I sent them several versions ago. So it's a lot faster to manage these custom layouts now. Up here, you'll notice that it says media storage, 1 gig of 19.5 used. I don't have anything plugged into this, so this is the built-in storage. And this is where you can upload still images as well as video clips to play back as little animations for your intro or outro or segments. Also in the app is the auto switching feature, and this is where you can configure how you want the device to auto switch based on audio levels. I actually have a whole separate video that goes into this in detail, so I'll leave a link to that down below. Over in the device configuration tab, this is where you can choose what you want the video outputs of your different options to be. So we have one HDMI port, we have the USB output, and the NDI output. So I can take, for example, the multi-view out of the HDMI, which is how I can show it to you on this stream. Or if I had a monitor in front of me, that's where that would show up. I can also take the USB port and use that as multi-view if I want to pull up the multi-view on my computer over USB. Or I can output directly one of the inputs. So this is a nice way to, if you want to send a copy of a computer screen out the HDMI port to put on a projector, that's a great way to do that. And of course, same with the NDI. If you want, you can send NDI out of the RØDECaster Video, and it can be any of the program or multi-view or camera outputs as well. Despite this being significantly cheaper than the RØDECaster Video, it still does have ISO recording. So you can go in here and turn on ISO recording. You can also do it from the touchscreen itself. Go into the settings here and go click on multi-track. And this is where you can choose whether you want to record program or ISO video. ISO means it'll record all the video channels at the same time onto the hard drive. So who do I think this is for? Well, the RØDECaster Video is a fantastic device. It's got a ton of flexibility. It's got a lot of features, but it is kind of expensive. The RØDECaster Video is $1,200 US right now, while the RØDECaster Video S comes in at just $500. So if you have found yourself not needing quite all of the inputs available or all of the different scenes, this is a way to get into the RØDECaster ecosystem at less than half the price. I think this will do just fine for a lot of smaller channels or smaller podcast setups. So let's take a quick look at some of the setups you can build with this. For example, if you're filming a 2-person podcast, you might have 3 camera angles for that, 2 close-ups and a wide shot. And then you have the 4th input available over NDI or over USB for things like a computer screen, or maybe you take a wireless camera from a phone. It's really handy to be able to have a little handheld shot that you can go and zoom in close up while you're filming something or pointing at things in a podcast recording. And the Rode NDI app is a great way to bring a camera in wirelessly. This is the Rode NDI app, and it has a couple of really cool features. One feature that's really neat is actually you can put it into dual cam mode, where it will actually send a front and back camera feeds separately over NDI, and you get 2 NDI feeds you can pull up in the RØDECaster. So if you are doing a quick interview with somebody, you can just put this in between the both of you and get 2 camera angles with a single device. This is even a great option for recording small conferences. Let's say you had a wide shot, a close-up of the speaker, and then you're bringing in their slides over HDMI or maybe NDI, screen share even. And since you do have an HDMI output, you could even run the HDMI out to a projector to feed a copy of their slides into the room. I have some other videos on my channel that go into these kinds of use cases and give you more detailed setup guides. And since these 2 devices are almost exactly the same, you can go take a look at all those videos for a step-by-step how-to for getting these setups up and running. In those videos, I go into how to film small conferences and events, how to set up the auto switching for a video podcast, how to use an iPad to actually draw on top of your stream if you're trying to illustrate something. And of course, I have a complete getting started guide as well, which goes through all the features on the RØDECaster Video. And once again, the RØDECaster Video S does have all those features. It's just slightly reduced in the number of inputs and capabilities, but you can go watch that video for a great overview of getting started with the RØDECaster Video S. Once again, thanks to Rode for sending this out for me to share with you on the channel. And be sure to join my live streams on Sunday where I can actually show this to you live and test it out and answer your questions. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.